What's up, everybody? Forged by Fire, episode 12. Thank you for joining us again. I'm here with my boy of the last decade, Mike Venereo, and he's got a hell of a story. First, what is Forged by Fire? There's a lot of business or entrepreneurial or success podcasts out there, and to me, it's very surface level. They give you the how-tos and the hacks and the tips, but they don't talk about the shit. They don't talk about the depths of the fire that you got to go through and overcome the pain, the emotion, etc., to come out the other side, to be forged by that fire, hence the name. And we're going to do that today. We do that with each of our guests, so be ready, Mike. My backstory, blue-collar, middle-class upbringing, found entrepreneurship at 18, fell in love with it. I knew I wanted to be successful one day. I just didn't know that entrepreneurship was an option. So found entrepreneurship, made a run, sucked, failed, sucked some more, failed some more. Finally, it started working, made $1 million. Company went out of business, bought the assets of that company, started my own, ran out to $30 million. It crashed, pivoted, launched Body by Body, the 90-day challenge, became the largest weight loss and fitness challenge on the planet at the time. $2 billion in sales, 3.5 million customers, 19 countries. Sold the company, bought it back. It was public, took it private, sold it a second time. Every success, failure, victory, defeat, entrance, exit that you can imagine. Lots of fires, lots of failures. That's my background. That's my story. Let's kick it to Mike. Mike, tell everyone your quick story, where you come from, how'd you get here, and then we're gonna go into the fire.
Got it. So, born and raised here in Miami, got in. I was a dabbler with a lot of different things in business, did network marketing, sold impact windows, pharmaceutical sales rep, and then finally kind of fell in love with what I started doing, which I currently do now, which is real estate. Started first with the wholesale, probably the easiest route to get into the business, okay. No money down, quick way to make money. Was able to build a team of about 11 to 12 people, and that went well. I did that for about 3.5, 4 years. When I was doing that, obviously finding great deals gave me the space to start remodeling. Yeah. But it was basic stuff, nothing major, doing little small deals where I can do in like areas here in Miami, like Miami Gardens, where they're easy to come in, super cheap. Kept doing that, kind of combined both of the things. And today we started developing. And that's the exciting part where I'm at right now. I went from saying, wow, I'll never do a rehab again because it is a pain in the ass to do, to now developing homes ground up. But more importantly, are developing homes ground up luxury style. And that's where I really fell in love. I think that was like real my calling. And so, did that and started converting these houses into short-term rentals.
Which is pretty cool because when you think about it, your journey is, you just said, I found my calling. And that's a 20-year entrepreneurial path or sales path.
Correct.
Sales leadership, entrepreneurship, into where you're at now. It's a 20-year path to say, I found my calling.
Correct. Yeah. Tried a lot of different things. Sales was obviously always my leader. I always knew that, my mouth can get me through a lot of things. And I don't want to mean it in that way, but,
It took me everything to say that's what she said. But I didn't say it, so I didn't say it. So.
But, fortunately, that helped me kind of grow, make the right connections, connect with the right people. And then, it led me to this now, which is awesome because I get to develop, in developments of luxury homes, you get to be very creative.
Yeah.
And that's fun because now you're not pinching pennies on these little houses that you're doing. So you're barely doing nice jobs just to try to profit the most.
Yep.
In developments, when you're doing luxury, you get to enjoy, you get to build, you get to be creative, you get to bring things that give people wow factor. And that's, one of the main reasons why I'm in it.
Yep.
And then in the luxury Airbnb space or short-term rental, that's even more amazing because you get to see the people when they walk in and the reaction that they get when they leave you reviews of like best house, never traveled to another home like this, incredible how you guys are so focused on detail. That part is really exciting on this space.
So you went from, hey, I'm making multiple sevens in the wholesale, thank you.
Yeah.
In the wholesale real estate world to now you got multiple 8 figures of land and development and ownership under contract, etc. When you made that transition from wholesale to developer.
Correct. Yeah. With wholesaling, obviously multiple seven figures. It was great constantly every single year. When I started doing the developments, it just opened up my mind. And, I started buying multifamily buildings. So I own 20 units, 12 units, 4 units. And then I started going into the luxury homes. The cool thing with that is that the pops are a lot bigger.
Sure.
And so when you're making, high six figures per deal, it gives you a lot more buying power to buy other things.
Yeah. And you and I have a similar path in that result, which was, as a young kid, we want to be millionaires. And then you become millionaires like, ooh, we're going to have to become deca millionaires. And I never eclipsed the 9-figure mark in earnings. I've eclipsed it in sales. I've eclipsed the 10-figure mark in sales. But next stop, the next decade. Let's do it together.
Let's do it, man.
Let's take a run to 100 million. Okay, so I obviously know your story, so I know there's a gap, there's a jump from the wholesale business to the developing side of this. And that jump, the positive spot of where you're at now, the success, the fun and the joy, and where you said, hey, I've really found my purpose and passion in what I'm doing, was actually the byproduct of your fire, right? It wasn't like, you were developing and then shit hit the fan and you came out the other side. You actually were in a whole different industry, hit the fire, stayed there for half a year and change, and then made a pivot and came out the other side, new industry. So, as only we can do with Forged by Fire, let's get into the fire. So, what happens? You've got a really competitive, aggressive sales leadership style, pound the pavement, kick ass. You're a grinder. What happens in the wholesale business where you start to kind of lose your gripping a little bit? What becomes the cause of the slip?
Yeah, so for me, like I was explaining to you, wholesaling for me was a great business, but the way I had built it wasn't COVID proof. And so I'll explain to you what that means, right? A lot of people do wholesaling and they do what's called off market. And that means you're doing marketing, you have Salesforce, you have cold callers, you have text blast. I didn't build it that way because the way I learned that business was going right off the MLS. Okay. And so the MLS was like, I would say, the lowest hanging fruit. And so what I did was I figured out models, systems, and procedures that would work best in that space. And so we got really good at it. I had built a sales team. We had about 12 people. We were great at sending contracts. We were great at negotiating with the real estate agents. But when COVID hit, it did a freeze to sales, period, right? Home sales slowed down. At the beginning of COVID, home sales slowed down. Yep. And so what happened was that a lot of real estate agents weren't getting new listings. Everybody said, you know what, it's time to stop selling our houses. So the MLS
have to work from home now. Why would I sell my house? I've got to keep this thing. I got to do home improvement. I got to add a pool.
Correct. I'm not going to sell it right now. I'm probably going to lose money. Instead, like you said, let me put a pool. Let me make it nicer. Let me keep my home. And so what happened, realtors couldn't door knock anymore, right? They were saying, don't go out there. Don't speak to people. They weren't presenting as much. So they're saying, hey,
no showings, no
showings. Nobody, hey, you can't have 15 people in my house. You got COVID, put a mask on. Everybody was frightened. So what happened was the MLS started drying up and the supply started getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And so my sales team, in that process, wasn't seeing the ability to turn. We were doing maybe between 9 to 15 closings a month. We probably went to like 2, right? I have 11 people trying to do 2 closings.
So COVID ended up exposing like a chink in the armor. Like,
a major.
Oh shit, we don't have an answer for the fact that we're an on-market wholesaler. We're not an off-market wholesaler.
Correct.
So if you're an on-market wholesaler, you're only going after the properties that are listed on the MLS.
Correct. Your only marketing channel is one, the MLS.
And there was less and less listings. Then the next part of COVID happens, which is everyone moves to fucking Florida.
Correct.
So everyone's just like, we're coming to Miami, which means there's less and less and less properties available.
Correct.
And how competitive does the marketplace be for a house, for a person who's trying to buy a property in just average normal area in Miami? How competitive that space end up being?
So at that point, now you're competing not only with other investors locally, you're now starting to build, compete against international and then domestic investors coming from other states. So now you're looking at a guy from California looks at a house in Miami and says, wow, 400,000, that's a steal. The guy from Miami is saying, hey, I have to pick it up at 350 in order for me to make some money. And so what happens is now I have these 12 guys going after the properties, but there isn't any properties left to go after. And so what happened, we all leave the office. Now we start doing Zoom meetings. Right, that was one major thing.
Culture blast
big time, because I ran my whole team based on momentum, mindset, and training. So another kink I found was my business was driven by Mike, and if Mike wasn't there, my business didn't work. Right, so many kinks I was found. Sure. Unfortunately, major things were exposed because friends of mine used to always tell me, Mike, don't stay only on the MLS, go off market. I was like, nah, man, things are going great. Why don't I just grow the MLS? Make it bigger, make it better, make it faster. Notice that, it was my mistake, right? I leaned too much, put all my eggs in one basket. That basket got taken from me through COVID.
So you had actually given me an explanation, and this is for people that really don't understand as much on the real estate market, etc. Most people think, oh shit, COVID, Miami, anyone in real estate is killing it. Where it actually had the opposite effect on you, because like you said, the competition became not just people moving into Miami.
Correct.
But then all other investors moving into Miami.
Correct.
One house that's selling for 400 grand. Your normal model is, hey, let's buy it at 350 and I can resell it at 425 or whatever it might be.
Correct.
And make a profit. But now people are listing it at 400 and getting offers at 425.
Correct.
Which there's no way to coexist in that business model, right?
There's no way, and it made sense, because now every investor is saying, if I make 30,000 is better than making no thousand, right? So now I wasn't competing against investors, I was competing against everything. Now it became the investor that was savvy, the investor that was speculative, the investor that's never done an investment. Now it was like free for all.
10,000 people that just left LA.
10,000 people that just left LA, people leaving Chicago, New York, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening was my team, one by one, started disappearing. And it was crazy because at that time, almost my whole entire team started becoming my competition.
Was your team your family?
For a while, I took them all to Tony Robbins. I paid for everybody, took them to New Jersey. We used to do family events. We used to do picnics. We used to do football. Like I created a great culture. Brotherhood, sisterhood, a couple of girls in the group. We were a very, very tight clique because like I said, I ran it that way in order to keep everybody together.
And then all of a sudden, hey, we're not getting together anymore. Oh shit, there's very little business for us to pick up, which means there's very little income to be earned.
Correct.
And their solution was either leave, go find a new career, or even worse, what you just referenced. It's not worse in what they did, it's worse in how it feels, right?
Exactly. Listen, I can't stop them from doing what they're doing because at the end of the day, they're doing it for their family, for their own success. But as a business owner, after you spill your guts into somebody, your heart, your energy, your sweat, and then you find out now they're in a way your competition, right? And they're using your identical formula, and they're saying, no, you know what? I didn't. I did it on my own, and you didn't. That hurt. And so I had as I was explaining to you, I had an identity crisis. For 4 years. If your only true success, you see it through wholesaling, then you call yourself a wholesaler, right? My only true success. I never made the money I had ever made in my life in any other career but wholesale.
Well, you said people literally thought the name of your company was your last name.
Was my last name, right?
I wish it was, because your last name's so hard for me to say.
Right, it would have been a better last name, I'm not gonna lie. Mike Rockwood would be a lot easier for everybody. I would create a company called Rockwood Investments.
So they just identified you with the name of the company. It was just synonymous.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden, you're faced with an extinction event, really. I mean, you can keep the brand around, but extinction event to me is the revenue's gone. Even if you keep the logo up, you can keep the website up, and then you have to decide, and we're going to come back to this actually, so I may not go there. So revenue's drying up, right? People that you love the most in your career are now your competition. It triggers a litany of emotions, one being betrayal. I know this one very well. You know how I know this one? Because I've gone through this one dozens of times. And as much as you want for them to move on, succeed, win, but when they choose to directly compete against you, and some of my past closest brothers wasn't just directly competing, it was directly competing while soliciting as much as they could away from me on the way out, right? So it's like, not only are you going to leave and compete, but your goal and your aim is to reduce the results of success. Not like, hey, you can win and I can win, but like, how can I take you down on the way out?
Correct.
I'm sure there's probably a little bit of that.
Yeah, definitely was there.
So what emotions do you go through when you start to see this happening and you're watching this transpire from people that where your brother's now competing directly? What emotions are triggered?
Yeah, so for me, you know, in the beginning, I was in denial, right? I said, oh, you know, it's just the market. It's the right thing for everybody to do. You know, they're going to fail. They're probably not even going to see. If you can't even see with us, with the whole system.
You'll be working somewhere else.
You'll be somewhere else. You'll be out of the game, et cetera, et cetera. Then, you know, I really had to, you know, this took a while, man. This wasn't something that happened overnight. You know, like I started dabbling with other things, right? I took a loss on trading, right? I said, oh shit, if wholesaling's dead, you know, everybody's doing stocks, so let me become a stock trader, right? Obviously, I knew nothing about it. Emotional as hell. Emotional from the stocks and emotional for what was going on in my life.
You might as well, you should just went to Vegas.
Yeah, right? Or just thrown a bunch of parties and had a bunch of fun, right? Yeah. Instead, I go and blow it on stupid shit that didn't give me any reward, right? But whatever, that was the choice I made at that time. And then, you know, you're going through that and then you start, first it was like a denial. Then I started going, man, my leadership was all messed up, right? Because none of these guys even, and again, I don't want to talk bad about anybody because I understand how it feels to be on the other side. I've kind of been on that side too. Yeah. But I said, why didn't anybody like sit down with me and say, hey, Mike, look, man, this is what's going on. The business is not working as well as we thought. You know, I have kids, I have family, I have business, whatever. I want to step into the space. I don't want to do it with you anymore, you know, but let's work some deals out together. I had none of that, man. It was almost like everybody, I don't know if I was out of guilt, out of shame, out of fear, you know, was I some kind of bad wolf that, you know, you couldn't sit down and talk to me? I thought I was like, hey, I'm open, I'm sharing, I love you guys, you know, I'll give you everything I have. But then no one spoke to me about it. That shit was like a big hit to me, man, because I find out through other people. Hey, did you hear this guy and this guy got together and they're doing, you know, their own thing? Oh shit, I didn't know that. Hey, did you hear this guy now, you know, started working with this guy? And I was like, what the, did my whole entire team collapse to work with each other? Was this going on in this office without me even knowing? And I'm here thinking we're one and these guys were like plotting on their own.
A coup. Organizing a I've been through it so many times, so intimately, and as you're playing this out, I'm getting like slightly emotionally triggered. And you almost never get over it, right? You forgive, but it still triggers you because you know how much you gave.
Correct.
And you know, I also think you're right because I have that same assessment of myself, which is how did I fail them that they didn't believe they could just call? How did I fail them that they didn't believe they could just show up and say, hey, I'm out, I'm moving on, right? How did I fail? But on the flip side, you know, there's a certain aspect of being a man or a professional, right? Or having, you know, enough gumption to sit down with someone face to face, or at least a fucking phone call, right? And say, hey, I just want to thank you for all the opportunity. I want to give you all my gratitude for anything, right?
Right.
Anything.
Right. That's what I thought was supposed to be the route. You know, because like I said, man, some of these guys, you know, I got them out of, you know, a normal job that was going to take them to where it was going to take them.
A dead end.
To now opening up their mind to becoming a business owner. Then, like I said, committed to them, would take them to Tony Robbins events, would take them to events to open their mind. Yeah. you know, we would talk about relationships like within themselves, with what I was going through. You know, our family, invited them to my families, would take them out on the boats. Like, yo, these guys were people that I was spending time because they were spending time with me.
Yeah.
And I would not hold back anything. A lot of my friends would tell me, why do you share everything with them? Because they deserve it, right? They want to succeed. And why, if I have it, why wouldn't I share it, right? So then for me to really sit there and say, man, none of these guys were willing to talk to me. They went and did 50-50 partnerships within themselves. And no one said, hey, Mike, listen, I have an idea. I want to make more money. I can run it, but I need your help, your guidance, your experience, your knowledge. Why don't we do a 50-50? And I probably would have been open because now I'm getting at least 50% of someone else's business. Nope, it was just like, walk away.
Let's cut you out.
Let's cut you out. And so that one was something that really, you know, I lost my identity for a while, man. I went into a little bit of a spiral, started investing bad money in bad places. As I would lose, I would get mad, you know. I stopped wholesaling, like just cut it out 100%. It wasn't even like, hey, let me just do it by myself, which I know how to do it. I got so, I would say, turned off by it and maybe so hurt by it that I was like, screw this. I'm not a fucking wholesaler anymore. That's not what I'm gonna be known as.
Yeah.
You know what it is for 4 years to build something.
Your reaction was to say, I'm better than the industry.
Right, wholesaling is the bottom of the barrel anyway.
I didn't fail that, I'm better than that.
Correct.
You know, right, where it's cool that you're on the other side now to be able to go, okay, I see what happened, I see where I failed, I see where I got so emotionally triggered that in order to heal, I just had to disconnect from the whole thing. The brand, the industry, the people. And it sounds like, we haven't talked about this, it sounds like the people were the trigger. It wasn't like the sales were going down. It wasn't that the revenue was crashing and because the model wasn't right for COVID. Sounds like the people were the trigger to all of the emotional trigger.
The emotional trigger. You know, money, like I wouldn't say, money's always been a driver for me, but I haven't been the most organized money guy, right? So if you look at my business right now and you ask me, hey, what did you make this month, this week, this day? I'm not that guy. So money's not really my true driver. It was more the collaboration, the teamwork, wow, I built that, right? Yeah. So when I have that going on, I'm talking to my girl about it and she's going, I can't believe that person did that. I can't believe that person did that. Because some of them were really, really close to me, right? Or I thought, well, they probably were, but at the moment, after they weren't. That was like, it's funny that you said that because I never looked at it that way. I blamed the business. I was like, oh, wholesaling sucks anyways, right? That's not how you're really gonna get rich. Yeah. You're gonna get rich doing something else. All the big guys don't wholesale. Yeah. Who's the big millionaire that wholesales? And I almost started putting all this negative towards a space that I was so sold into. Like every event was wholesaling, every marketing would do it, I was wholesaling. Anywhere I would travel was to learn more wholesaling. That happened.
You were Mikey Wholesale.
Mike Rockwood, the wholesaler. When I would meet people, oh, I know who you are. You're the wholesaler.
Yeah.
And I almost was like, I'll never be known as the wholesaler again.
It's crazy. There's a possibility that you denouncing wholesaling was your way to say, I denounce you and you're a wholesaler. I'm not. So it's not like
you guys are less than me.
Bingo.
Crazy.
There's a chance that you are actually denouncing them by denouncing the industry. And that was a way subconsciously for you to heal and feel better and to just get the kick in the ass for you to make a change and go a different direction because you're going to go into something that was bigger and better. And you're able to minimize how you felt. You're able to minimize them by minimizing the industry.
Yeah, you know, it's exactly what happened. Like now that you and I are talking about
it. That'll be $19, please.
It's exactly what happened because you know, the other day I was like, why did I even stop wholesaling? That's an extra 15, 20 grand a month I could have just popped in. What went in my head to turn off the business because of my team kind of dissolving? And now, in a way, it was like a blessing in disguise because I probably would have never had the courage to go so hard into development, right? Because for me, the developers and the apartment building holders were the real investors now. These guys, what I used to do was like the amateur shit. Yeah.
The pain and betrayal, man, and other people feel a different way, but I have such a keen awareness to this particular pain that you're talking about. Like I have people that sit at the table and they'll say, I had a pain because of this or pain because of that. And like the pain of betrayal runs so deep for me. So I resonate exactly the thought patterns you had. And so before we come out of the fire here, what's the worst moment of all of it? Of all that half a year, 7 months, 8 months, what's the worst moment? So brand is shot, lost the team, cash is dried up because industry's dried up. You're taking other money that you saved and you're burning it other places in bad business dealings, trying to make up for it. But what's the lowest point of it?
Yeah, I think again, money wasn't my lowest because fortunately I was, even if I was burning a lot of it, I was still making through other angles.
Okay.
But I think it was more the identity that I kind of lost. And I think that was...
Do you remember a moment where you're journaling, or you're sitting somewhere, you're like, or it just hit you and you're like, what the fuck? Or is it just a collective?
No, I think it's a collective, but I think the biggest moment was literally maybe like a month and a half ago, right? This is already kind of coming out of the fire.
Yeah.
But I started making investments with the current partner that I'm in right now. And I started putting all my capital, started buying a bunch of real estate. Fortunately, timing kind of helped me on the growth. But I almost let go of all my control into somebody else, right? I put a couple millions of dollars involved in this. And about 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, I sat there going like, why the fuck is my whole life a turmoil right now? Like everything is a mess somehow, right? My plans were going crazy on my build outs. All my deals were getting stuck. I had just become a father. So that was a big thing, right? Here comes this other person that's counting on me. And I'm still thinking I'm a horrible leader, right? Because I couldn't have my people sit down and talk to me and say, hey, Mike, this is what I'm going through and these are the moves I'm going to make. And thank you, bro. Thank you so much for pushing me, making me better. Like I'm thinking, how am I going to lead this little person? How am I going to be a good parent, a good, partner? Like all of this just hit me, seeing how bad I'm being in the partnership with my buddy because I'm letting all these deals kind of collapse and I have no control. And I just sat there like, holy shit. Like, where am I? Like, what the hell am I doing? What am I doing in business right now? I've allowed this whole entire thing just to lose, I've lost grip to everything. And now I'm pissed off at everything. I'm blaming things. Why did I have this? And why did I make this move? And, I can't believe, and now I'm blaming everybody. And I said, hold on, Mike, your best skill is solutions, right? Figuring out solutions. That's what you've been doing great for the last 4 years while you were doing the wholesaling, because wholesaling causes a lot of problems on deals. And I'm like, all right, let's get back to reality here. Like I'm the business owner, I'm the investor, I'm the developer. I have people working in different roles, but I need to control all of this. I need to manage it. I need to make sure things are getting done. I can't let houses get built, get busted with permits and now they have demo orders on them when I have over $800,000 invested and now I have to be worrying if the city's gonna take me down because I'm being, negligent to my own business. Checked out. And so that was probably the biggest thing. And I started searching for all right, me. Yeah. I started saying, screw working on my business, screw working on trying to be better. Or having more in my business. I gotta work on Mike. Let me find Mike because Mike got a little lost in this experience. Since when was Mike a trader? Mike's not a trader, so why are you trading?
Like a day trader.
Yeah, what do you mean you're doing trading and you don't even know how to read a stock? Crypto Mike now. This Mike, I'm like, hold on, let's get back to the basics.
Yeah.
And understand what I'm doing. And that was probably an awakening for me.
This is interesting because I didn't pick this up as a part of your story until now, which is you make a pivot in industries and you make the right move. And it's an industry you're excited about. It's an industry that you found passion and purpose in more than ever before. But emotionally, you're still back 50% holding on to the old, right?
100%.
You have this fucking baggage that you're still trying to drag. You're dragging this baggage into a new industry. And so I just gathered that. So you go through hell, you make the pivot's starting to work. The direction you want to go, and you like it, except you're dragging all the dead bodies behind you.
Correct.
And all of a sudden, it's fucking up your new deals.
Correct.
I just picked it up. So you make
right. It's moving on its own, but it's fucking messy.
Right. Like General Schwarzkopf, I call it Rule 13: win in command, take charge. Win in command, take charge. So you're like, look, I'm in command here. I got to take charge. And you're a couple months into that. And how do you feel? And what's happening? And what's good? Tell me all the good shit now.
Yeah, no. So then after that, when I put my head together and said, all right, now it's time, like you said, when in command, take charge. And I start taking charge, man, things just start flowing again, right? Because now I start thinking at it as a business again. It was like an organic thing that happened that I just gave all power to somebody else and said, let's see where it goes. Yeah. That was a bad decision. Now, it did start kind of going, but it didn't go with the flow that it deserved to go. And so when I finally noticed that, I was like, all right, hold on. We're going to put this back in order. And now it's happening, right? So now our houses are being built a lot quicker. The city stuff, I met the right people. I made the right connections. I'm now plugging in with the moves that I need to make in order to get myself out of the problems that were put in.
Your Airbnbs are killing it. It's Miami.
My Airbnbs are doing phenomenal, right? I probably do, I would say like 4 to 5 times the average in the area.
Nice.
Right? So my Airbnbs are doing phenomenal. I'm starting to build a very strong brand around that. I just went to Texas the other day for an Airbnb event to learn. And when I would talk to people that were in the business a lot longer, they were like, dude, I don't know what you're here to learn for. Like, you have a better system for
Get on stage.
Yeah. They were like, you have a better system than we do. Like, shit, I didn't upsell. Man, I didn't know you treated the client this way. Wow, I didn't know you were doing that. Man, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And so I sat there like, holy shit, we're actually doing something really good at a beginning stage to grow something great, And so all of that started working, bought a couple of buildings. That started working very well.
Casual, bought a couple buildings.
Yeah.
Over here playing Monopoly. 4 greenhouses equals 1 red hotel.
Well, I never lost my fear of investing. I just started investing in the right thing, right? Stocks, crypto, and all of that wasn't for me. I'm not saying it's bad. I just wasn't educated behind it, and I was doing it incorrectly.
Yep.
And so I just started placing myself, my money, and my investments in the place where I knew I can do well. I knew how to buy well. I knew where to buy. I knew what to do. And, I also, I found a creative side of me. And that's where the development came in. As a rehabber, I wasn't very creative. Yeah. I was trying to save money. So when I would look at nice things to be creative with, I would be like, man, that's crazy. I'm not going to do that. That's too expensive. As a developer, you get to have fun, man. You get to have...
It's art.
It's art. It's art. And you truly want the reaction.
I talk about this a lot off camera, whatever that, especially with really successful people. Like, what's your artistic outlet? Because for so long, I had held at bay my artistic outlet. I knew I was very artistic. I love music. My whole family is musically inclined. My dad was a bassist. My brother was a bassist. My mom can draw. My brother was full ride scholarship for art. Like, it's in the family. But where I grew up in Michigan, you either were on the musical and art side or you were on the athlete side, and that did not commingle.
Right.
So I picked the athlete side, went and played college baseball, blah, blah, blah. But I always knew I could write. When different things were triggered throughout my life, specifically my separation, I turned to writing, and I wrote tens of thousands of words of poetry. Fun fact, my poetry Instagram that nobody really knows about in my network is almost as big as my regular Instagram. It's crazy, right? So I always take people up, kind of like, what's your artistic outlet? But you've now combined it inside of your business model.
Correct.
Right? Like that's special, right? When you can do 7-figure deals and it's also art, that's fucking cool.
Super cool. And that's something I didn't know, right? That kind of happened naturally, but now I see how much I love it, right? I'm all day looking at Pinterest. I'm all day looking at, $15 million houses. I'm all day.
I'm sorry. It's just funny for me picturing you. I'm just going,
you know, looking at what design did they do? What tiles did they do? What kind of kitchen? Why did that guy sell for so much? All right, how do I make that into a cheaper version into my house? Because I'm not at the 15 million sale yet, but I'm at 2-3 million. You know, I want to go to 7 million, then I want to go to 9. How do I bring that to this market? How do I become different? How do I not do what they're doing? That part of it, I love it, man. I love it. So I become more of that in my partnership. You know, I found a guy that's my implementer, right? That implements what my ideas are. Yeah. But I'm the creator.
The execution machine.
Exactly.
So let's take it home. I know you're a huge mindset person. So I just want to give you a free flow. Talk to the audience that's watching this. How critical is mindset? What components of mindset do you need in order to be successful? Sales, solopreneur, entrepreneur, have at it. Take it away.
Yeah, so for me, mindset has been, you know, the biggest thing always, right? Since I first got out of, you know, in the younger ages, the way that I got out of my bad habits, kind of drug stuff that I like to do here in Miami, parties and stuff like that, was going through a lot of Tony Robbins. And so that was like my savior back then, right? After that, I started learning there's other people, but he was my first, my true savior, I would call him, right? So I owe him everything, to be honest with you. And I would just dig myself into Tony Robbins, and you know, he would teach that you gotta live as you wanna be today. You have to write your goals because you have to be clear. And these were things that I applied, right? Now, I would apply them 30% sometimes because I would still fall back into my habits. I still wanted to party, but I would still see such a huge change in my next year, 2 years, 3 years that I realized that this is everything in reality to become real successful. And so the more I read and the more I listen to audios and the more I watch the people that have what I want, you know, they kind of ingrain it back into my head. They tell me again, if you're not writing your goals, if you're not, you know, living who you want to be today by attitude, by character, by smiling, by, you know, certain things that you're doing every morning, right? Like going to the gym.
Habits.
Exactly. Going to the gym for me in the morning is something that I have to do.
Religion.
Right? It's religion. When I was in that spiral, wasn't my religion. That was something that I was like, oh, if I go to the gym, great, who gives a shit anyways? Now it's like something I have to do, and I can feel it in my mindset.
It's your anchor. Your anchor habit for all your results and what you do in a day is the gym.
Is the gym. Because why? It makes me feel better. It makes me win immediately in the morning. It makes me test my muscles. It makes me feel. It makes me look better. And so that is like a must.
Testosterone's firing.
My testosterone's firing.
You know?
That's like a non-negotiable. I have to do that. You know, mindset when it comes to writing my goals, that's something that I'm learning to apply now, right? I've heard you say it to me for the last decade. And I'll do it and then I fall. Yeah. And then I do it and then I fall. But now I said, you know what? Just like going to the gym became a habit to me that I don't fall from, then writing my goals. Because what I've noticed is writing my goals gives me clarity, right? It gives me something to believe in. It gives me something to work towards. It gives me something to get excited about.
You remember when I shared with y'all that I'm goal obsessed for 3 reasons. One is the unexplainable, right? Just shit magically happens.
Correct.
2 is chemical, right? Dopamine. But 3 is logical. Everything you just said to me is like, oh fuck. When I'm focused on my goals, I'm just more focused. Well, yeah, that's logical. When I'm focused on my goals, I'm not focused on shit I shouldn't be. When I'm focused on my goals, it's just super logical that a person that is writing goals and reading goals is going to be pursuing them. That's
Correct.
a logical statement. And that's what you just referenced a couple times. Like, oh, I got it. If I'm goal focused, I'm goal focused. If I'm not goal focused, I'm not goal focused.
Correct. And now you're letting things focus your mind, right?
Yep.
They're taking your focus into things that and then you get mad. Oh, why didn't I achieve it? Shit, when was the last time you thought about it?
Yep.
When was the last time you wrote it down?
When was the last time you obsessed about it? Right?
When was the last time you obsessed about it?
Because a lot of people undervalue. When's the last time I thought about? I think about my goals once a week. I got it. But you think about having fun 5 times a day. So which one? Once a week, 5 times a day, right? You just know where you can win that battle. Like
Correct.
You're going to take the actions that align with what's so fun, as opposed to what's in alignment with the goal. Final thought. What you got? What's the final word of wisdom for the crew out there today? Look at that camera right there and say, here's my best advice to you.
Yeah, so this is something I'm going through right now. So this is my best advice to you, right? So when you're focused, like Nick is talking about, on your goals, on what you're trying to create, life now tends to kind of pull you, which means that you're not pushing through success, right? And that's something that I've done very well at, unfortunately. I've learned how to push through success. But man, it gets to a point you start getting tired. And it's because you're not focusing on the other habits that you talk about all the time. The goal setting, the clarity, the going to sleep at night reading a book, the waking up in the morning and not getting on Instagram, right? So now you're having to push through the success. But if you start paying attention, like Nick was saying, if you're focusing 5 times a day or 10 times a day on the things you really want, life in some magical way starts pulling you towards your true self, right? We were all born in greatness, I believe. And we were all born in having the ability to be successful. But most of us don't focus on it, don't look at it, don't think about it, and then we expect it. And that's not what is gonna happen. So now we're having to like almost, grind through the thing. And everybody talks, grind through work. Grinding is not the best way to do it. I'll be honest with you. I've done both. And the grinding model is not the most, it's not the most longevity model, right? I would say it burns you out after a while. Yeah. The pulling model, the part that you start doing the work internally and you start doing the work before the actual work begins, it's almost like it somehow flows and it's a lot easier.
Spiritual, it's universal.
It's universal. It's that magical way that somehow works. But what happens is that you get to do it for a longer time. You get to actually do it forever if you do it right, I think, right? And so that's something that I would definitely say, put work before the work begins. Because I'm seeing it right now happen to me, especially after this fire. It's just been a magical spark. And I don't feel like I'm pushing so much.
Well, welcome back to Ass Kicking. Guys, if you have it in your hearts, the sponsor of Forged by Fire is Next Gen, which is a foundation that teaches youth entrepreneurship. Please go to thenextgen.org, thenextgen.org. Donate $10, $50. If you learned something today, make a donation. That is episode 12, Forged by Fire. Mike Venereo. Boom, boom. 4444. Everyone stop.